welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. I'm going to take a look at my Ficus Concinna tree today. But first I thought I'd just give a quick update on this cutting. This is the cutting that I accidentally let dry out. You can see here on the bigger part of the stump, there's a couple branches. It was, probably about 3 times as tall as this is right here. And I had actually just kind of moved it. I thought it was getting too much sun. I moved it to a spot where it would get a little less sun. But then it was also in a spot where I just kind of forgot about it. And I let it dry out. And it died all the way down to the stump there. And then just, I don't remember how long ago it's been now, but it finally sprouted again. Starting to learn a little more about the growth habits of the concina. It is a little bit different than the microcarpa, that's for sure. I've got plenty of microcarpa. I think I'm getting that more than figured out. But the if you look at this, got some nice new growth there. Got the reddish growth at first, turns a little yellow after a little bit, or I'd say like lime green, and then of course you get the dark green on the older leaves. Not going to do anything with this guy, just thought I'd show you. Sooner or later I'll get a little wire on that. That'll be the first branch, and then, you know, one day that'll just come up and be the apex. I have given it several looks. When I first did take this as a cutting, I actually had it about halfway up in this pot, and then at one point I pulled it out of the pot and just added some good soil to the bottom and put it back, and the roots have barely even gotten into that good soil there or anything, so just kind of letting this go. It is a little, when I talk about the growth pattern of the concina, I don't know about bizarre, but just so much different than what I'm used to. But with the new growth coming here, you know, off of just a branch, kind of weird that it hasn't sprouted any up here yet. I say yet, I mean all these leaves are pretty much fresh from like this season. And let's go ahead and finish up the work on the mother. Alright, and back to this guy. I repotted this guy in February. I took and made a big chop to it. I'll throw in some pictures here just so you can kind of see the history from the tree, but I had allowed the apex to get a little long and straight. I think it came out about like that. There was just a big long piece there. Was developing a very nice apex to it, you know, as far as ramification and everything goes, but it just had that long piece in the middle. Several people suggested that I go ahead and take that out, and so I did. I think it's going to work out for the best. Since February, it's grown huge leaves. I kind of got I really like the way that this looks when it's been defoliated. I like the way it looks when it has new leaves. When it gets these old leaves, they really do get just really big and leathery. They get these holes in there. I've never been able to find any kind of like caterpillar or anything like that. I actually just think that the wind and just them being older leaves just eventually winds up ripping the holes in them. I'm not sure. I know I don't have any kind of caterpillar problems or anything on any of the other ficus that I have. I only have thrip issues, and this is definitely not thrip damage. You know, like this one here, I mean, you would kind of think that it would be some kind of insect damage, but at the same time, you know, I've looked, I've gone out there at night. I've heard some people say that there's some caterpillars that only come out at night, so go out there and try and find them at night, and I've just never been able to find anything. But one thing I really do like, I'm going to show you this here, and that is the new growth on it. And if you look, it almost looks like a flower bud, the way the stipule, there's a stipule is what it's called. It protects the new leaves as they kind of emerge, but it's getting this nice, you know, little growth spurt coming right out of the apex. And I was kind of looking at everything else, and I was wondering, like, why is it not getting a growth spurt anywhere else? And you'll see in a minute, once I defoliate everything, that it is getting some little sprouts along the trunk. And I'd rather just go ahead and wipe all those out and ensure that any kind of a growth spurt it gets now is growth that I would like to keep. First off, it was suggested when I was, you know, when I did take off that that apex, that I take one of these 2 branches. You'll be able to see them a little more, but one of the 2 top branches and wire them up to become the leader. This one is actually, you can kind of see here where it's kind of trying to become the leader, in that it's about as tall as this, doesn't have quite the growth spurt that has going on it. can see, it's getting another little bud there. Nothing at the tip on this one yet, but it's got a bud there of when it was getting, where you can see it was getting ready to get a little growth spurt on there. So again, I want this to go ahead and heal up that chop mark before I go chopping it again. So I do want to save all that growth, but I also want to go ahead and just get in here and take off some little shoots as well. Alright, so you probably noticed as I went around, I was taking off some of the really obvious little twigs I wanted to take out. Sometimes as I look at things, I almost need to go back and watch the old video to see why I didn't get any secondary wire on there and then also there. Could have been because if the apex did not sprout a branch on its own, I probably would have wired that one up. Maybe that's why I didn't wire that one, put wire on that one. I don't know. Kind of wish I had now. I could have wired it with this branch here and had this branch down a bit. I'm also going to go ahead and take this whole sprout out here. Here's another. That's the only other spot other than that new growth right there that actually has the new growth. You can see some buds in there, but that's the only other spot right there where you can see it was sprouting just all new growth. And it's kind of, I'd say impressive that it just came out of the apex, but then why it also picked right there, I don't really know. That was an old branch that I cut off. It just kind of sprouted off the side there. And then this sprout on that side too. I've been treating this as the back and treating that as the front. Trunk's a little more visible. I think this branch is, that branch is done for. It's a little bit small for where it was, but I left it on there just in the hopes of keeping a little more life right there. I do want to take I think for now I'm going to go ahead and just leave it the way it is. I'd like to leave this wire on. It's not really biting all that well just yet. Maybe when it recovers from this defoliating here, I'll take that bigger wire off and then go ahead and get some wire on some of the secondary branches. Probably keep that branch, but it's a little bit too long. Same with this one, I think. And just to show you guys, I'm going to leave all that growth on the apex. Again, new growth there. And I'd like to see if I can get that to go ahead and just heal that wound shut. Definitely would have been much more difficult to wire one of these smaller branches up and then have to cut that nub off. I'm glad it did sprout right out of the end there. So I won't even take off those leaves. I can actually see a little bud on the inside of those leaves there. Once this kind of grows out and covers that wound up, I'm thinking I'll go ahead and chop it again around here-ish, somewhere around where my hand is. And then the apex of the tree one day will be around in here. Alright, so it's been 9 days since I made the start of that video. I've had a few distractions going on. I haven't had a chance to edit anything here recently. It is recovering quite nicely from the pruning, or the defoliating, should I say. And this is definitely one of the reasons why I like this tree. I don't really like the way it gets the big leaves when it gets old, but these new leaves on this thing are really so cool looking. When they first come out, they got all the different colors on there. Sometimes when it's busting out of the stiple there, it actually kind of looks like a flower. And then here's a couple buds that are just coming out. You get that little red swollen look. And the last thing I want to show you is up here in the apex. You know, I talked about how it'd be nice to get a bunch more growth coming up here to heal that chop scar from the last video. Every one of these places where I left the big leaf now has a bud coming out of it. And so that should give a branch at each one of those sections there. That should give it plenty of growth to heal up. And I probably won't work on this tree again for another couple months. Maybe not even touch it again until next spring. We'll see how it recovers.